What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Figures of Sport podcast, episode 76. Thank you all for joining. As you know, it means the world to me that you guys are able to take time out of your days or your weeks and enjoy this content that we are creating here at the Figures of Sport podcast for you guys. So once again, welcome to the Figures of Sport podcast, episode 76. And as you guys know, something that means a lot to me as well is that you guys like this video and you guys subscribe to the channel, because guess what? If you see that you are not subscribed to the channel, you are wrong. If you are not commenting on the videos and you don't see your name in those comments, you are even more wrong. And on top of that, you are the wrongest if you are not following us on Instagram and TikTok. So make sure you guys do all of those things. Guys, like I said, it means so much to me that you guys are interacting with this content. And yeah, so like I said, make sure you guys like this video, subscribe it, and we are so close to 100 subscribers on the channel. I think we're sitting at 67 right now. It would mean so much to me if you guys can share this video, this channel with 5 of your friends or your family, and we can get just that much closer to 100 subscribers on the podcast channel. And we would, of course, love all of the support from everybody, because like I said, and I will continue to say, it means the absolute world to us here. So without further ado, everybody, we are going to jump straight in because we have so much to talk about. And I want to give a heads up. So this week, unfortunately, Giorgio could not make it onto the podcast with some things that came up for him, but that's okay because we still got his input on some things. And at the end of the episode, we are going to continue the Thursday night podcast parlay. We lost last week, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But without any further ado, we are going to jump straight in. And the first thing that we are going to talk about is obviously the MLB postseason continues. So as we are currently speaking and recording this on Tuesday night, the Tigers and the Mariners are currently playing right now, but we will talk about that in just a second, because before we even jump into the divisional series, we have to give you guys a quick recap of the wild card series, because that was a crazy time. So in the first series in the American League, the Tigers and the Guardians faced off against each other, and game 1 went to the Tigers. Game 2 went to the Guardians. And in game 3, man, the Tigers were able to come out on top. So that was a great battle between those teams. And to be quite honest with you, I really thought that, I thought that the Guardians were going to take that series. I was wrong, but the Tigers were able to prevail. And obviously we are having a great matchup between them and the Mariners right now, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But the second series from the American League wild card was the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees, and that was a hell of a series as well. To start things off, in game 1, the Red Sox were able to take the victory, and then in game 2, the Yankees were able to hold them off and win that game 4-3. And then in a deciding game 3, the Yankees were able to come out on top and defeat the Red Sox 4-0 to advance to the AL Divisional Series against the Toronto Blue Jays. And then on the National League side, it was a relatively quick series for the LA Dodgers, as they made quick work of the Cincinnati Reds, defeating them 10-5 in game 1 and then 8-4 in game 2 to advance to the National League Divisional Series and against the Philadelphia Phillies. And then the Chicago Cubs faced off against the San Diego Padres. Game 1 went to the Cubs. Game 2 went to the Padres, and then game 3, the Cubs were able to hold off the Padres once again and clinch that series. And, I think prior to this year's wild card series, if I'm not mistaken, I had seen that teams that went on to win the first game of the series, whether or not a game 3 was forced, sorry, if a game 3 was forced, the team that has won the first game of the series has ultimately won. And I think we didn't see that in the Red Sox and Yankees series. And honestly, I think that was another time where I was wrong, and I'll admit to that. I definitely had the Red Sox advancing in that series, but ultimately, the better team in that series was the New York Yankees, and we're actually going to use that to jump right into the divisional series talk, because right now, as I said, the Mariners and the Tigers are playing, but we were speaking about the Yankees before. So I just have to say that I don't know if they were truly the better team, because I genuinely believe that the Red Sox were a better matchup against the Toronto Blue Jays. And they are showing that the Yankees are a little bit of light work right now. They're up 2-0 in the series, the Blue Jays are, and the Yankees are facing elimination tonight. The series shifts over to New York for Game 3 later tonight, and it has been just a rout for the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, Game 1, they were able to take that 10-1, and then in Game 2 they won that 13-7. They've been really kind of having their way with the Yankees offensively, and with their backs against the wall, I just don't know if I can see this Yankees team coming back from a 2-0 deficit to win 3 straight, especially knowing that one of those games is going to have to be in Toronto again. So that is a quick update for you guys on that series. And then on the other side of the ALDS, you have the Tigers and the Mariners. Like I said, they're currently playing, and right now it is the bottom of the third, and the Mariners have taken a 2-0 lead. Right now that series is tied. The Mariners were able to win game 2 of the series, and obviously the Tigers won Game 1. So this is going to be a very fun series to watch for me. I just think that these are two teams that I think can really come out of the American League. And while I have been wrong on the American League side of things so far, and I guess one of those National League matchups in the wild card round, I just do think that both the Tigers and the Mariners are teams that can truly bring it and possibly punch their ticket to the World Series. So this is going to be an interesting series to watch. And obviously, guys, you know that next week, obviously this series, the divisional round in general should be done. So we will update you guys a little bit more when that happens as well. But then as we look on the National League side of things, right now we have the Brewers and the Dodgers both up 2-0 in their respective series. The Dodgers, surprisingly, I had the Phillies really kind of just having their way with the Dodgers in this series, but it has not gone that way whatsoever. Saturday was Game 1 of the series, and the Dodgers were, they were able to fight, and that 6th and 7th inning, they put up all 5 of their runs scored. In the 7th inning, the Phillies had a 3-2 lead, and then gave up a 3-run shot to Teoscar Hernandez, which ultimately won them the game. And then in Game 2, it was a little bit different, where the Phillies kind of had to fight their way back from the jump. Blake Snell had an incredible performance for the Dodgers. 6 innings pitched, 9 strikeouts, and then on the other side, Jesus Luzardo for the Phillies was able to go 6 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 5 strikeouts. So, I think this is a tough series for each of these teams. And I don't think that the Phillies will get swept in Game 3 is going to be tomorrow, Wednesday night. But yeah, I just can't see the Phillies getting swept. I think if they are to get swept, then we might genuinely see a different looking Phillies squad next year. Maybe guys like Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber. Those are some guys that might not be a part of the organization anymore. But I think the biggest thing here is that the Phillies really are missing their ace, Zach Wheeler. So obviously that was a tough blow for them. But like I said, I don't see them getting swept in this series at all. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then on the other side, in the National League, divisional series. We have the Cubs and the Brewers, a battle between teams of the NL Central, and the Brewers are having their way with the Cubs. And, as I wear my White Sox hat today during the recording of this episode, I can only smile just a little bit because the White Sox fan in me um, is a little bit happy. I heard so much trash talk from my friends that were Cubs fans about how they made the playoffs and how they're going to do so well. So this was my opportunity to kind of talk a little bit of trash right back to them. So, but I just think the Brewers. The Cubs have actually gotten off to hot starts in the first inning of each game. But they were not able to hold the Brewers at all. Game one was the Brewers taking a 9-3 victory, and then game two, the Brewers were able to win 7-3. But if I'm not mistaken, in both of those games, the Chicago Cubs had 3 runs in the first inning, and I'm confirming that right now. In the first inning of game one, they scored 1 run, obviously scoring first, and then gave up 6 runs in the bottom of the first inning. And then in game two, they did score 3 runs in the first inning, but allowed the Brewers to make an immediate comeback as they were able to go and put 3 runs up in the first inning themselves. So very, very, one-sided as far as the National League Divisional Series goes. But of course, guys, this is going to be fun because in baseball anything can happen. And yes, these are 5-game series, so it's the first to 3. So we're obviously going to keep an eye on these series, and like I said, I will keep you guys updated on the Mariners and Tigers score as we get to the close of this episode. So we will keep an eye on that, and we will update you guys accordingly. So remember, though, we've got a lot more to talk about. So without further ado, let's jump right into the NFL, and we're going to talk about the best games of Week 5. So we're going to do things a little bit differently now. Obviously, you guys know that we usually do full recaps. We talk about every game, but I want to try something different this week. We're going to do the best games of Week 5, the worst games of Week 5, and then that way, we get a little bit more excitement because some of these games from Week 5 were total duds or super one-sided, and then some of the other games were very, very exciting. So the first game that I do want to talk about from Week 5 was the Broncos and Eagles matchup. This was a game where Denver was able to end Philly's undefeated streak, and the Eagles just continue to look poor offensively. Just another tough showing by the Eagles offense. This was a game where Saquon Barkley had, under 10 carries in a game, which I think is unheard of. When you have a guy like Saquon, he didn't leave the game early. He wasn't injured, but, he didn't get the ball. They forced the Eagles to throw the ball. And on top of that, I think the biggest thing was that, the Eagles had a lead for the entirety of this game almost. And, when you look at it, if I'm not mistaken, and I want to clarify this right here, so I make sure that I'm not saying this incorrectly, but the Eagles were up at one point, 21 to the final score was 21-17. The Eagles allowed 18 points in that fourth quarter, which again, I mean, just pretty ridiculous. I just couldn't believe that I was watching Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos kind of carve up the Eagles like that, and like I said, Saquon Barkley was very limited. He had only 6 carries for 30 yards. Jalen Hurts threw the ball almost 40 times, and Devontae Smith had a game, 8 receptions for 114 yards. Saquon did touch the ball 3 times receiving for a total of 58 yards through the air. Also had a touchdown. But, other than that, the Eagles offense just really struggled to really get things going. And again, up up 17-3, you would assume that they would give the ball to Saquon, allow him to dictate the game and run things himself. But, obviously we just didn't see that happening. So, it was just it was a poor performance by the Eagles, but the fact that the Broncos were able to come back from that 18-point or that 14-point deficit. My apologies. It was just a great showing by the Broncos, and they are now making their case as they move to 3-2, and they are tied atop the AFC West with the LA Chargers. Obviously, I think the Chargers have a lead because of the fact that they won the head-to-head matchup, but both teams are 3-2, and we'll talk about the Chargers a little bit later. But the next game I want to talk about is the Panthers. Yes, the Panthers and Dolphins game, because of the fact that the Panthers were down 17 at one point, but behind the back of Rico Dowdle. Yes, former Dallas Cowboy Rico Dowdle. He rushed for over 200 total yards, 200 yards, and then had a couple receptions to total about 230 plus total yards of offense by himself. And it was a hell of a game by Rico Dowdle, and a hell of a game by the Carolina Panthers for sticking with it and not giving up down 17. Great game. Surprisingly, one of my favorite watches of Week 5. And then another game I want to talk about from Week 5 that is going to be one of the best games, in my opinion, was the Thursday night matchup between the Niners and the Rams. The Niners were underdogs here, and they started off really hot in that first half. The Rams came out cold, and the Rams made a late effort to win this game, and behind a Kyren Williams fumble, the 49ers were able to pull this victory out. It went to overtime, and the Rams just couldn't make all of the right plays down the stretch, and that was what cost them the game. So, but because of the fact that we saw an underdog, especially with an injured team, Kendrick Bourne had a hell of a game. As obviously we all know that the 49ers were extremely injured. No George Kittle, no Ricky Pearsall, no Juwan Jennings, no Brock Purdy, but yet they still came out on top and beat one of the best teams, in my opinion, in the NFC, in the LA Rams. So a hell of a game by the 49ers, and they moved to 4-1. It's a big divisional win, and they continue to do what they need to do. As we've kind of harped all season long, the 49ers have one of the easiest schedules in the NFL, and they're taking full advantage of it. So shout out to the 49ers for getting that one done. And the next game we're going to talk about is an absolute shootout, and this was probably the best game, in my opinion, of Week 5, and it was the Buccaneers and the Seahawks. What a game. The Buccaneers are able to win this game 38-35, and there was a time where it felt like these teams scored every single time they touched the ball, and Baker Mayfield kind of continues his MVP level play, and Emeka Egbuka. Wow. I mean, what a game. What a game by the rookie. I believe he had 7 catches for 163 yards, and he also had a touchdown to go on top of it. Rashad White stepped in for Bucky Irving, had 2 touchdowns, and was able to do things both on the ground and through the air for that team, catching a couple passes, totaling over 70 yards of total offense. And I mean, that was a game, man. And then on the other side, the Seahawks, I mean, Sam Darnold had an incredible game himself, 341 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker, had an incredible game, 10 carries for 86 yards. But the story here was JSN's performance, 8 catches, 132 yards, and a touchdown. What a battle. What a battle between those two teams, man. And that was a really, really fun one to watch. And the Buccaneers came out on top. So shout out to Baker, shout out to Egbuka and the Bucs for getting the job done. What a hell of a game. Now, the next 2 games that we're going to talk about are a couple of primetime games, one of them being the Sunday night matchup between the Patriots and the Bills. Drake May led a clutch final drive, which allowed them to hit a 52-yard game-winning field goal. Stephon Diggs had an explosive game, 146 yards to lead the Patriots in receiving. And, the Patriots were able to score behind a couple of vulture-like touchdowns by Ramondre Stevenson, who only, I believe, totaled, I think it was 8 rushing yards, but still had 2 rushing touchdowns. So very upset. I know my Travion Henderson fantasy football owners are very, very upset. Antonio Gibson did get hurt in this game, though, so that should possibly increase the workload by Travion Henderson. So fingers crossed to all of my fantasy football players that have Travion Henderson sitting on their roster. But other than that, Josh Allen had 2 touchdowns. He performed pretty well, but he also had some costly turnovers for the team. And, they didn't get a good performance out of James Cook, which was really kind of hard for them to bounce back from. I feel like when James Cook is rolling, that offense in Buffalo is hard to stop, and he really just couldn't get things going. Only had 49 yards on the ground. So a bit of a disappointing performance from the Bills, and their undefeated season comes to an end they now are 4-1. And, we see that this Patriots team is pretty gritty. So I'm gonna like watching the Patriots and Bills matchup later this season. I'm excited for that. It's gonna be at New England as well. So gonna be excited for that for sure. And overall, I did think it was a great game. And I think, like I said, we are going to see maybe a Josh Allen revenge game for sure later this season. And then the last game that I'm going to put in the best games of Week 5 category this week is the Monday night matchup between the Jaguars and the Chiefs. What a game. The Chiefs took a late 28-24 lead over Jacksonville, but Trevor Lawrence with the incredible play, heads up play to win them the game, man. He was stumbling on that last snap and was able to regain his footing really quickly and made the heads up decision to rush in for the touchdown, and was able to give the Jaguars a win. And this was a great game to watch, to be completely honest. I still think we saw Travis Etienne struggle a little bit, and we continue to see Brian Thomas not do what we saw him do last year. But, what matters the most is the fact that the Jaguars were able to get the win. Like I said, Travis Etienne, he struggled a bit. He had 49 yards on the ground. And I mean, he caught a couple passes, but only totaled 9 yards receiving. And then Brian Thomas Jr., he had if it wasn't for that 33-yard deep ball completion, he was only going to be sitting at a 3-catch, 47-yard game. So, I just think that the Jaguars need to do a better job of getting Brian Thomas Jr. involved. But ultimately, like I said before, what matters the most is that they were able to win this game. And, the Chiefs, they looked relatively solid, but had some, I think just some mental mistakes. At the end, Chris Jones, it seemed like he kind of gave up on that play that, where Trevor Lawrence scored. But Mahomes, I know that we had a lot of question marks about the Chiefs and Mahomes, their offense, but, Kareem Hunt had 50 yards on the ground. Pacheco had 36. Kareem Hunt had 2 touchdowns. Mahomes rushed for 60 yards. And he, on top of that, threw for 320 yards. Did have a pick and only 1 touchdown. But this is a team that I feel like once they're able to get Rashee Rice back, if he is anywhere near the former version of himself that he was a couple of years ago, or last season before he got hurt, I think this Chiefs team will be scary later this season. So and remember, Rashee Rice will return in week 7 after finishing off the 6-week suspension that he had for off the field issues. But we are going to now move on to the worst games of week 5 because, like I said before, we had a couple of stinkers. So one of the worst games I want to talk about really quickly is the Raiders and Colts game. Yes, Jonathan Taylor had 3 touchdowns. I know my fantasy football players are so happy that he was able to do that. But guess what? It was belt to ass for the Raiders this week, 40-6. Geno Smith threw 2 more picks. I mean, his season total is at 9 through the first 5 games. I mean, the game was over by halftime. Embarrassing performance by the Raiders, and they just could not get anything going for them. The next game I'm going to talk about is the Ravens and Texans. Man, no Lamar Jackson. Derrick Henry was nowhere to be found. He got that late, that touchdown that really kind of saved him, I guess, for the fantasy football players, right? But this game was already out of hand when he scored that touchdown. Cooper Rush threw 3 picks. They just looked lost, man. And this was a team in Houston that we were praising them on their defense and really not saying too much on their offense. But they put up 44 points. I believe this is the third time that they've allowed over 35 points this season. And I'm going to confirm that right now as we speak. But, I know they gave up 38 to the Lions. They gave up, I think, 37 to the Chiefs. And then obviously 40 plus to the Bills. So yeah, 41 to the Bills, 38 to the Lions, 37 to the Chiefs, 44 to the Texans. So this was a defense that we thought was going to be very, very well-rounded and one of the best defenses in the NFL this season, yet they have given up the most points in football this year. So a lot of question marks, and obviously the Ravens now fall to 1-4 this season. And even with Lamar Jackson hurt, this just, even if he comes back and plays at an MVP level, I just think this could be a lost season for the Ravens. If they were able to win a couple, that game against the Bills maybe, and then maybe that game against the Lions, this is a different story. 3-2 is a whole lot of a different situation than 1-4. But yeah, man, I think this could be a lost season for the Ravens, and it sucks because obviously with all of the good things that they did last year, this year it is not looking promising for that team. But the next game we're going to talk about that's going to fall under one of the worst games of week 5 is the Chargers and Commanders game. Why? Jaden Daniels made his return. Why is this a bad game? Because of the fact that the Chargers scored 10 points in the first quarter and then put up a dud the rest of the game. Their defense collapsed. The offense was lifeless. Just not a good performance at all by the Chargers offense. They did lose Omarion Hampton. He was placed on the IR so he'll be out for at least the next 4 games. So that's going to be a tough blow for the Chargers offense. But that does probably mean that Justin Herbert might lean on throwing the football a little bit more. And obviously he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. So we'll have to see if they are able to withstand some of the injuries that they have to their offensive line, their running backs, and try to win games just by throwing the ball and making the right plays. So we will keep an eye on that team. But again, they started out 3-0, have now lost 2 weeks in a row. So disappointing couple of weeks for the Chargers. So that is why they are going to fall into this worst game of week 5 category. Moving on, we're going to talk about the Bengals and the Lions because of the fact that, yes, the Bengals made it a lot closer at the end of the game, but Drake Browning throws for 3 picks, fumbled. The Bengals, it was really never a game that was competitive. So the final score obviously looks a lot closer than what it really was. Jamar Chase had a great day, though. He had over 100 yards, had 2 touchdowns, I believe. And obviously, like I said, big thing here is fantasy football owners. You guys are very happy. But it just wasn't a competitive game. And, I think by the time he was able to rack some of those yards and touchdowns up. It was already out of hand at that point. But good news for Bengals fans, maybe possibly. The Bengals just traded for Joe Flacco. And yes, the guy, Joe Flacco, the 40-plus-year-old quarterback who was just benched in Cleveland, is now traded to the Cincinnati Bengals. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he will start this week, or if they will continue to start Jake Browning. I think they made a mistake. They traded, I believe, a 5th-round pick to the Browns for Joe Flacco. I think that was a mistake. You definitely should have went out and got a Jameis Winston. I think that was the best option available for you. Jameis Winston was QB3 on the Giants, and I think even if you had to give up that same pick, maybe even a 4th rounder possibly, I think that might have been a little bit better, because it would at least save your season. I just don't think through the first 4 weeks of what we saw from Joe Flacco that, Bengals fans should be super excited. But you guys might not have Jake Browning anymore. So it'll be interesting to see who starts this week, though. And, if it is Joe Flacco, I'm going to be definitely watching closely to see if he is able to, really kind of maybe instill some life in these guys, and try to revive any hope they have to competing this season. And then the last game that I'm going to say is one of the worst games of the week. I guess we can maybe kind of put this in, I guess, you know what, we'll call it one of the worst games of the week. Why? Because of the Arizona Cardinals and their poor performance. The Cardinals had a 21-3 lead against the Tennessee Titans, who were looking for their first victory in a long time, it feels like. And, DeMercado, who was, the next guy up after the injury to Trey Benson for the Cardinals, he drops the ball before he walks into the end zone. Something that we saw the week before with Adonai Mitchell from the Colts, costing them a touchdown. And that was ultimately really what lost them the game. They lost the game 22-21, but obviously if that touchdown counts, it is a 28-22 game, and the Cardinals are able to win this. There was a fumbled interception that led to a Titans touchdown, a botched snap that led to a Titans comeback with, just a terrible, nasty, ugly performance by the Cardinals. They absolutely deserved to win this game. This game should have been put away, when it was 21-3. But sometimes what happens when you play too conservative, or you just make small mistakes after mistake after mistake, and they will come back to bite you. So the Cardinals continue to disappoint in some ways, and the other thing with the Cardinals is the fact that they were feeding Marvin Harrison Jr. early and then went away from him entirely, and their offense just sputtered out in the second half. Man, it was just a sad watch, and I'm disappointed in this Cardinals team. I expected a little bit more. Year 2 with Marvin Harrison there. Obviously you got Trey McBride, and then James Conner goes down, but and then Trey Benson goes down. But this was a game you had to win, and they just could not do it. But ultimately, guys, we move on, and we're going to now talk about the Week 6 predictions. So we're going to fly right through these real quick. First game of the week, Thursday night football between the Eagles and the Giants. We're going to talk about, we're going to take the Eagles in this one. On Sunday, the early London game, we've got the Broncos and the Jets. Give me the Broncos. Next up, we've got the Rams and the Ravens. Give me the Rams in this one. Next up, we've got the Dallas Cowboys and the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to be honest. I think this game could be a lot better than what we initially think. Give me the Cowboys. I think Rico Dowdle, if he is starting again, if Chuba Hubbard is out, I think he's going to definitely make his mark in this game. But ultimately, I'm going to lean towards the Cowboys in this one. Next up, we got the Cardinals and the Colts. Give me the Colts. A very interesting game here between the Seahawks and the Jaguars, but I'm going to go with the Seahawks in this one. Next up, we've got the Chargers and the Dolphins. Give me the Chargers. Then we have the Browns and the Steelers. I'm going to take the Steelers in this one. Patriots and New Orleans Saints. Give me the Pats. Titans and the Raiders. Man, a battle of two teams that are pretty bad. But I think this is a game where the Raiders need it. Obviously both teams are 1-4 right now. I'm gonna take the Raiders, but man, at this point, I'm not surprised if the Titans are able to win this game because of how bad Geno Smith has been this season. Next up, we've got the 49ers and the Bucks. Give me the Bucks. I think that the 49ers are still going to be without George Kittle in week 6. I do think that they may be getting Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings back, but I just think that the Bucks are just, probably the better team right now. So I'm going to say the Bucks take this one and keep rolling. Next up, we've got the Bengals and the Packers. Give me the Packers. Sunday Night Football, we've got the Chiefs and the Lions. Give me the Lions in this one. Monday Night Football, we've got the Bills. We've got actually a double header. So we've got the Bills and the Falcons. I'm going to take the Bills in this one to bounce back. And then Monday Night Football, we've got the Bears and the Commanders. Give me the Bears to come back into to Washington and get the revenge from last season. I think they're going to do it. So I'm super excited for that game, for that Monday night doubleheader. Should be two good matchups. Should be a good week 6 overall, guys. I'm pretty excited for this week. I think we're going to have a great week of football to watch. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the best and the worst fantasy performances of week 5. And we're going to, a la George, we are going to jump right in and we're going to do this ESPN style, quick and easy, coming at you fast. So the first one, we've got best performances. QB, Sam Darnold, 341 yards, 4 touchdowns, best QB of the week. Wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka, 7 catches, 163 yards, and the octopus. Love to see it. Shout out to the Buccaneers social team for putting that in the graphic as well after the game. Running back, we've got Rico Dowdle, 234 total yards and a touchdown. Tight end, AJ Barner for the Seahawks, 7 catches, 53 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, the worst performers, and also shout out to George. We're gonna the recurring theme here is gonna be to do better. So, worst QB of the season, possibly of the season, but of the week, Geno Smith, 228 passing yards, but 2 picks, bringing his total to 9. Running back, James Cook, 49 yards, not going to get it done. Do better. Wide receiver, Jamison Williams, 1 catch for 9 yards in a game that they were blowing out the Bengals. Do better. Tight end, Hunter Henry, 2 catches for 46 yards. Yes, the Pats got the win, but not enough. Do better. So now we are going to move on to the waiver wire targets of week 6. There's a lot to there's a lot of injuries in the NFL this year, guys, and it is upsetting to watch. So many guys are getting hurt, gruesome injuries, season-ending injuries. It's just such a tough watch. And then on top of that, you have the other injuries that are keeping guys out for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, man. It's been a rough season in the NFL for injuries, and it sucked. It really has sucked. But, for our fantasy players, just because your guys get injured doesn't mean that the season is over. So don't forget that, all right? Now, a couple of waiver wire targets I have for week 6 are going to be Michael Carter. The first one is Michael Carter from the Arizona Cardinals. I think DeMarcado, after that, that goal line incident, I think he's probably going to lose some touches first and foremost. But also, I just think that Carter is the better back of the two. I think DeMarcado is more of the third down back. pass catcher, but Carter is more of the workhorse type of back for them. So he's going to be one of my guys that I'm going to target on the waivers for week 6. Another guy, Kendre Miller from New Orleans. Week after week, the chatter about Alvin Kamara being traded continues to rise, man, and it is raising some questions. Another thing that is continuing to rise is Kendre Miller's snap percentage over the last few weeks. So he is a guy that, he may be a stash kind of guy where he may not be a guy where you start right now, but if Alvin Kamara is traded in the next couple of weeks, you have the RB1 in New Orleans, a team that is actually a lot feistier than we thought originally coming into the season. And they get their first win of the year. Shout out to them. They were able to defeat the Giants. Another waiver wire target for week 6 I got is Evan Ingram, a guy who I was really, really high on, in drafts, and really thought he was going to perform well in Denver's offense. Early on to start the season, he was not a great performer. He was a little bit banged up. Now it looks like he's fully healthy, and he is a guy that I really, really do like to continue popping off, man, at this tight end position. It feels like the tight end position obviously is the most unpredictable position in all of fantasy football, because some weeks, you got a guy like AJ Barner who probably isn't starting on anybody's roster, but he is a guy that, he's getting targets in the red zone, in the end zone, and putting up numbers. So, but Evan Ingram is a guy that I do like for week 6. So he is a guy that I say go out and try and grab him. An alternate guy, if Evan Ingram isn't there and this guy is still on waivers, I really like Darren Waller here. I think Darren Waller is a solid piece to add as well. He is a matchup nightmare in the red zone. So if he's available, I would also say go out and grab him as well. Now, guys, I need your guys' opinion, right? So we're going to talk real quick just about, fantasy football. Obviously you guys know that last week I talked about George and I facing each other, and he beat me again. This is the second time this year he's beaten me, 2 different leagues. It's frustrating, man. He had a hell of a performance. If I go back and look at the numbers, let's take a look, guys, because I don't think I had I didn't have a bad week. I put up almost 140 points. It's a half PPR league, by the way. I put up almost 140 points, but George put up 160. He had Matthew Stafford, who dropped 47 points for him. He had Puka. He had Gibbs, Devontae Smith, Achane, Breece Hall, Kaimi Fairbairn put up 18 points. Damn, killed me there. And on my side of things, I really thought that Woody Marks was going to take over as the lead back in Houston. I started him, and regardless of who I started this week, I would have lost the game. But it just also because Jacoby Myers, and the Raiders are not good. But a couple mistakes, I will learn from them. That is for sure. But yeah, man, shout out George. I'll give him his props. He's 2-0 against me this year, but I'm hoping that my wins against him come when they matter the most. So we'll have to keep our head up high. And man, in that league, bro, I'm 1-4. I'm a little disappointed in myself, but I have JSN, I've got McCaffrey, I've got Josh Jacobs, got Jaden Daniels. I have Pickens. I don't know what's going on, man. We got to have a team meeting. So, yeah, I got to get that going. But again, shout out to George. I had to give him his props, even though he's not here on the episode. Still got to shout my guy out. Hopefully he is back next week for episode 77. Would really, really love that to have him back. But guys, we're going to move on. And the next topic we're going to talk about are panic levels after week 5. Now, The biggest guy on this, I mean, the biggest panic level I have possible is Jameson Williams. I believed all of the hype coming into the season about how he's truly going to break out. He just had 1,000-yard season last year. I really thought he was going to be even more involved in this offense this year, but he has not been involved in this offense. This game against the Bengals was the opportunity for him to really kind of have his moment and really show out, but he really didn't. Very disappointing. One catch for 9 yards. He did have a rushing attempt for another yard, but again, I mean that's like 10 total yards for a guy that we really thought was going to be a formidable flex wide receiver 2 option. It's just very disappointing season so far for Jameson Williams. I mean, the Lions have bounced back after that blowout loss in week 1. And we really thought that after, week 2, Jameson Williams had an incredible showing against the Bears. And, since then he is just, slowly declining week after week. So just a sad performance by Jameson Williams, man. And he's one of the guys I was so high on this year. And he right now, I'm going to have to put him at a 9 out of 10 on my panic meter. Next guy up is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is getting shut down, since week 1. I just think that he has a total of 317 yards through the first 5 games. And since, week 1, he has not had more than 50 rushing yards in a single game. And, it's pretty crazy to see. I just really didn't expect this. And obviously I know that, against the last game against Houston does have a solid defense, and not having Lamar Jackson there to really open up the pass, the run game for you there too is a big issue. But, Derrick Henry, this does not look like the Derrick Henry that we are used to seeing. And 4 weeks in a row that he is not putting up more than 50 yards. And on top of that, he has been fumbling the ball. I'm going to say that my panic level on Derrick Henry right now is going to be a 7 out of 10, maybe even an 8. I'm just not impressed with his performance as of late. And, I'm just, I don't know right now. I mean, if he's a guy that I'm excited to start right now. Yes, I know he's an incredible player, but right now he's not a guy that I'm super, super excited to just go in and start in this upcoming matchup. And on top of that, they do play they have a tough matchup as they are going to play the Rams this week. So I'm not too sure, but again, I'm pretty highly panicked on Derrick Henry right now, and this entire Ravens offense right now. So we will just have to wait and see. Hopefully, he can kind of get things rolling again, and when Lamar Jackson comes back, he can get into a groove. But right now, I'm pretty highly panicked on Derrick Henry. And then the last guy, I'm gonna say that I have a pretty high panic level on, probably 7 out of 10. Is going to be Alvin Kamara. As I mentioned in the waiver wire pickups, mentioning Kendre Miller, Alvin Kamara is getting his snaps cut into by Kendre Miller, and obviously the trade talk is continuing to grow week after week with Alvin Kamara. So we don't know exactly what if they're limiting his touches because they want to keep him healthy to try to move him, or if Kendre Miller is just taking over the backfield. So a lot of uncertainty there. So because of that, that is why I'm going to put Alvin Kamara on my panic meter. And, guys, I just think that it's tough because, I've seen people saying that Alvin Kamara should be traded to the Chargers. And I just don't know if I see that because of the fact that Alvin Kamara, I don't think you can sit Omarion Hampton and have him be a backup anymore. And Alvin Kamara isn't going to want to just be a third down guy where he just comes in to catch passes. I still think he has some juice left in the tank. He's just playing on a not really competitive team. So that I I don't know if I like that fit. But again, I think that who knows? There's some things that can possibly be worked out. So obviously there are teams that could definitely use a running back. I've heard some rumors that he can go to the Chiefs, although I would not like that very much. I think that I think we'll have to wait and see. But overall, right now, I would say that I am pretty panicked on Alvin Kamara, just because again, there's just so much uncertainty going on right now around him and what his role is in this offense, as he continues to lose snaps to the younger back in Kendra Miller. Now, guys, obviously you guys know that we love to give you guys the Thursday night podcast parlay. This week, I know we missed out on the Sunday podcast parlay. We just were looking, and there wasn't really too much that we were super excited about. But again, we are back for Thursday, and the last week's parlay was so close. The Rams just couldn't get the job done. They had opportunities, and the first half was just an ugly first half for the Rams. They couldn't get the job done. They couldn't secure the victory. But it's okay because we're back this week and we're trying to cash this week. So as you guys know, we've been doing relatively well on the Thursday night parlay. So we are going to talk about this week's podcast parlay. We've got obviously the Eagles and the Giants this week in a divisional matchup. Divisional matchups are always crazy, always scary, but I do think that this is a game that, we can try to get back in the green. And we are going to take Theo Johnson for 3 receptions. He's been one of Jackson Dart's favorite targets since he's, come into this starter role. We've got Dallas Goedert for 3 receptions. He is a guy that whether Jalen Hurts is passing the ball or not, he somehow finds a way to get the ball. So we're going to take Dallas Goedert for 3 receptions. Jackson Dart, 25 rushing yards. Yes, this may seem crazy, but hey, the guy loves to move the ball with his legs by himself. So we're going to take Jackson Dart, 25 plus rushing yards. Devontae Smith, we're going to go for 40 receiving yards. And then lastly, we're going to take the Philadelphia Eagles minus 2.5. So to win by 3. And we are going to hope that parlay can cash as we try to get back in the green for this week. So, I think I think that's a great podcast. We had George cook that one up. Like I said, he couldn't be here physically, but he's still here. He's still helping out with the content. So shout out to George. Like I said, hopefully we get him back next week for episode 77, guys. And before we go, I want to give you guys a quick update on the MLB Divisional Series, because guess what? We have some updates. So right now, as I mentioned earlier, you guys, we were looking at the Mariners being up 2-0 in the 3rd inning. Right now, it is the bottom of the 5th inning. The Mariners are up 4-0. And the Tigers are in prime position to drive in a run, though. And then in the other game, the Yankees and Blue Jays game did start. The Blue Jays are up 2-1 behind a 2-run shot by Vlad Guerrero Jr. Guys, this is going to be a super exciting night for me. I'm going to go catch these games now that we are done recording this episode. So I'm super excited. Can't wait to get this episode out to you guys. And as you guys know, you are supposed to be liking, commenting, subscribing, following us on all these platforms, guys, because guess what? Like I always say, it means the world to me. So if you haven't done it already while you've been watching this episode, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're commenting on the video as well. Let me know your thoughts on the content. Let me know your thoughts on, some of the waiver wire guys. If you're able to get them in your fantasy leagues, let me know. Shout me out. Help me know, or tell me, if you're able to secure these guys, if you're excited about some of the guys that I've talked about. Tell me about guys that you are feeling panicked on in fantasy football. Do you have any of the players that were some of the best or worst performers of the last week? I want to know all of that, guys. So please, please, please make sure you guys are commenting below, whether it's here, it's on the TikTok, it's on the Instagram, whatever it is. We really appreciate it. So again, guys, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. And like I said early in the video, we are so close to 100 subscribers. Yes, I know it's such a small number. You have other channels that have millions and millions of subscribers, right? But we are trying to hit 100 subscribers for the Figures of Sport podcast. If you guys can do me a favor, share this episode with 5 of your friends. It would mean so much to me. And hopefully they are able to enjoy the content and share this with 5 more, 10 more, 20 more of their friends too. We want to continue to grow this podcast, guys, and all of your support means the world to us over here at the Figures of Sport podcast. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.